topic I've got here that's a little bit more in depth than you can cover on this. Some of you may have or watched some of the rigs, their power plug is on the outside in the rear. And some folks are still having to get the power plug through the hole in the locker. If you're interested, and I can explain further later or whenever how that is done, because I've done several of them.
If you're really super cheap and want to do minimal, you can buy a little door at an RV place, cut a hole in the side of the trunk, and you put that on there, and you just run it out the side instead of out through the bottom. I've seen a few of those.
I installed an automatic transfer switch on mine, so it transfers automatically between generator and or shore power. And that's what I did. Another thing I did on ours, on both of them, I modified the shower to where I did not have to bring the sink down, adjust my temperature, pull up the knob, put the sink back in order to take a shower. Because we showered in our rig 5 or 6 nights a week when we were on the road. What I did, I took a faucet assembly similar to what's on the outside, and I mounted it inside the potty room. If you're sitting on the pot, right by my left elbow is where I mounted it. I pulled the back panel off, tapped into the hot and cold water, took out an elbow, put in a T, and ran my plumbing up to that. Consequently, taking a shower was easy because I didn't have to mess with that darn sink, and it worked great. If anybody's really interested, I could go into that more later. I also modified the drain to where it could go outside to a garden hose and the hose over into the sewer hose, and I modified that so I didn't have to mess with the water going through the pump, which would stop up the filter and going into a tank. I did that. There's different ways you can do that, so if anybody's interested, I could go into that more later or whenever.
If you're driving and you see a sign that says truck wash,
go there.
And when you go in, there's a thing that you climb your stairs and you can go wash whatever. But it's also good for seeing what's going on top of your Rialta. If you knock something askew or.
Joan came to visit us one time, and I took her by one of those where you can walk up the stairs, you can see the top, and she said, "Wow, why don't they have those everywhere?" Well, they do in Texas because there's lots of trucks.
Talking about the skylight, I haven't heard anybody mention about leaks in their rigs. Our first Rialta, unbeknownst to me, a brand new owner, I had no idea what I was doing, but I had a crack in the skylight. A lot of folks have said that you can go in with a tiny drill and drill at the tip of the crack, and that will stop the progress. Well, I tried that. Went out the next morning to check my progress, and I had 2 more cracks in 2 other places. Plus the one I drilled, it continued. So I ordered a new skylight. And the way I installed it, I pulled the inner skylight down.
It's 2 layers.
Yes, an inner and an outer. What you actually see from the outside is the outside. What you see from the inside is the inside. 2 different ones. I remove the inside one and make sure you mark it to make sure you clock it back in the same orientation. And
1-inch difference, I think.
about that, yes. When you go back together, I'll get to that. Be very gentle when you put those screws back in, because you're going into nothing but very soft fiberboard, and you can strip it in a heartbeat. So be very cautious when you put those screws back in. With the skylight, inner skylight out, get on a stool and you can start pushing and just get the old one off of there. So when you have to dress the surface of the roof, you're standing on a stool up in the hole, and you're not up there on your hands and knees. So most of us are not quite as nimble as we used to be. And you must be very cautious, because the skin that you see on top is just a few thousandths aluminum with about this much styrofoam, high-density styrofoam, and then that rat fuzz fiberboard. So be very careful when you're cleaning the surface and don't want to nick it. But it can be done. And then get you a couple of tubes of silicon. The new ones
Dicor.
are held on.
Self-leveling dipole.
That, yes. The new ones are held on with corner braces. I did not drill holes in the new skylight because I did not want to introduce stress. I just put it, a big thick layer of silicon down, put it down on there and let it cure. Then I went back with self-leveling to cover the seams and the corner braces. And that's the way I put my skylight on.
And you could also now, willing to experiment a little bit, what's the white tape?
Turn-a-bond?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeti Turn-a-bond. It's a super sticky tape. When you put it where you put it down, you better make sure it's where you want it to be.
I was gonna say,
Anyway,
you
they make
can't do that.
double-sided so that it's super sticky on both sides. I've got some at the house. I got 3 rolls of it, because if I bought 2 rolls, I got 1 free. So I got a whole bunch of it at the house,
What is it
but it's
called?
about an inch wide. Yeah, it's grayish looking. If you get the single-sided, it's super sticky on one side, and the other side you can get white, black, gray, I don't know, a couple, 3 other colors maybe. But people use that to run down the center seam of the roof. But if you use the double side, you could use it around the skylight to stick it on the roof. You could use it, I don't know if you'd want to or not, but you could use it between the air conditioner and the roof to get a seal, because the air conditioner sits on a foam seal. And if you don't keep those screws tight, it'll leak.
Yep.
And those screws will strip. You have to be careful.
Easily.
I'm getting ready to take out my, because we didn't have leaks, somebody else had leaks, and so, you know, everything's kind of sagging. So I'm getting ready to take everything down and pull that headliner out.
What year is yours?
02. Is there anything that you would recommend that I put extra in there, or just leave the foam board if it's good, for further insulation, or, because I'm gonna have to replace the wood, the thin.
It's all delaminated at this point.
Yeah, it's just all crumbling apart
You gotta-
around everything.
Structurally, you've got to get rid of all the garbage. It's
Yeah.
like following
Yeah.
rust, you know.
You gotta get
You
rid
gotta,
of it.
you gotta follow all that stuff and chip it up and replace it with new.
I have seen on 2 or 3 2000 models, the roof, to back up, the roof is 2 pieces like this. And for some reason, the guy that was responsible for cleansing the driver's side roof didn't do his job. And you could take the bonding and just peel it up from the driver's side. Consequently, leaks would leak, but those leaks would not leak right here, they would gravitate to the lowest point. So it may be leaking back here at the air conditioner, but it's coming from up here by the driver's side. So that on the 2000 is the only year model I've seen that, where the seam was the leakage origin.
Has anybody replaced their floor, the carpet? There, about, I didn't go last year, and I didn't have it the year before, so 3 years ago, maybe 4, I was sitting in line trying to get into GNR up there, parked. I was over there talking to some other people, and I met the lady responsible for sticking the carpet to the floor. I told her we had some rather interesting names for her.
Yeah.
And she said, well, she wanted to make sure it didn't move.
They should put
Got to dream big, or don't dream at all.